we have now made friends / captured 2 out of the 3 legendary Pokemons. The third and final Pokemon of the dumb pattern is the bird, the legendary rock, and more specifically, he will be the king of the Musketedomo Goryu birds, the same species of birds that Chopper befriended during the 2-year training arc. Let's face it fellas, these birds are just a big bird and a parrot mashed together in a blender, but I believe it's Oda's interpretation of the mythical bird rock, which is similar to the Garuda and the Phoenix. Say what? These birds aren't majestic enough for you? I mean, their design's not even that far off from the poster boy of Pokemon Gold, Ho-Oh. There's also Balloon the Rock, the last of his kind who was introduced in the second version of Romance Dawn, the pilot to One Piece. This is how the mythical rock looks like when Oda draws them. So tell me, does Balloon look mythical or majestic? Well, you know what? Maybe he kind of does. Those eyes are so... We've had plenty of examples of the rock, Garuda, and the Phoenix in the story already. The Musketedomo Goryu birds of Torino Kingdom are, as I mentioned, rock-like birds, and curiously enough, in the mobile game One Piece Treasure Cruise, they are titled the Birdie Kingdom Rocks. Then there's Vinsmoke Judge's epithet of Garuda, Vivi and Luffy who rode on Pal in Alabasta mirroring Vishnu the Supreme God riding the Garuda. Of course we shan't forget Rox D. Zebek, whose nose and hair in this silhouette in my humble opinion reminded me of a cockatoo, a parrot. And Rox? That's a little on the nose there, don't you think? There's also Fuzo, the pet of Shuro, who can breathe fire, and who could forget Pineapple Head? Most importantly, Luffy also connects to the rock with his red rock attack. You don't think that will come up later in the story? I mean, Luffy also did the Gomu Gomu no Bajran gun attack, literally meaning the monkey god gun, and has also tamed a creature called Cerberus. Now let me go on a final mega tangent. I promise it's the last one. Maybe. The reason why the dumb pattern is interesting is because we can predict the final showdown for the end of One Piece. We have Luffy the monkey and Blackbeard the dog, which leaves the bird. It's Emu. Emu is an emu. Let me explain. Here's a hot tip. A good place to look for clues for a theory is in the chapter covers. So let's scour each and every chapter cover starting all the way from chapter 1 to check if we can find clues about Emu being an emu. Chapter 1. Okay. Well, I guess there's a bird with a crown on his head that's been cleverly cropped by Oda. Well, could be something. Let's put it in the back pocket for now. Chapter 2, let's go. Oh, right. Well, that was easy. And those stripes on the bird reminds me. Emu's eyes. Surely, if Emu is a bird Pokemon, then we'll see other bird Pokemons with these eyes, right? Well, there's this Sea King for starters. And even Robin, when she's feeling a little bit stabby. Even Vivi with her hypnosis has the same ringed effect. The same ringed effect that Oda uses for showing sound waves. Birds. They tweet, cheep, chirp, and shriek. Hoot, caw, and caw. Birds and sounds. Do you see the vision? But the whole ringed eye Sharingan thing is very interesting, and Tainted Mouth actually goes deep into this in his Mega Theory link below, so do check it out. It's an incredible video. You're welcome. Now we also get the people living in Torino Kingdom with eyes tattooed on them. So, Emu's ringed eyes will likely tie into sound and hypnosis, and maybe a trait linking some bird-related characters. Do we have any other potential clues tying Emu to birds? Well, they live atop a massive wall, above most of humanity and all the other celestial dragons. They're also likely considered a celestial dragon themselves. They like to hang with flowers and butterflies, and also have strange body proportions. Like, I don't want to be rude here, but their shoulders are down here, and top of their head is up there? That's weird, bro. And finally, they have a super tall crown. All those traits are bird-like, no? So let me explain a couple of those points for you so we're on the same page. Emu is a celestial dragon, and is therefore tied to a bird. Let's use Shanks as an example. Shanks has a sword named Griffin. A griffin is part lion, part eagle. His rival is Mihawk the Hawk. Fitting then that Mihawk's rival is another bird, since characters with the same animal traits will often clash. Shanks is also tied to dragons, as you can see from his ship's figurehead, and the reveal that he has celestial dragon lineage, so dragons are linked to birds. Well, dragons, no duh, are flying creatures like birds, but there's a deeper reason than that. Oda's greatest idol is Akira Toriyama, the author of Dragon Ball. Toriyama is written as Tori, meaning bird, and Yama, meaning mountain. In Color Walk Volume 1, in an interview between Toriyama and Oda, Oda even goes on to claim that Toriyama is a godlike figure to him who lives in a different dimension. So you see, to Oda, dragon, god, and bird are inseparable. It also makes sense that the Celestial Dragons, who were bird characters, also took the red line from the Lunarians, who were a race of winged people able to use flames, an elemental ability commonly used by bird Pokemons in One Piece. And the thing about butterflies? As I already hinted in the title of this section, bird in Japanese is tori, but another reading for this kanji is cho. For example, a sancho, literally meaning 3 birds, are birds like pheasants, chickens, and geese. But cho, when written as a different kanji, is, you guessed it, butterfly. So, Robin is a bird, Sanji is a bird, Sora, meaning sky, is a bird, Reiju is a bird, and even Linaria, one of Shanks' subordinate crews who was recently revealed as a captain of the Night Butterfly Pirates, is also a bird, since a Linaria is also a type of bird. Emu is a bird. It's also fitting since butterflies in Greek mythology symbolize the souls of the dead. Again, a link to the underworld, am I right? Finally, the tall crown. Like, no doubt, it relates to the Baphomet, right? As I suggested in my Christmas theory video, emu will likely link to a goat, but I also believe that they will link into a bird also. But let's think about all the other characters who also have long heads or long headwear to see if they also connect to birds. Well, Zeph for sure. He was the true father figure to Sanji, a bird Pokemon, but also has this Jolly Roger here. And there's also Vice Admiral Strawberry, Chinjiao, Fukurokuju, and Vegapunk, all of whom are also well, I guess not really. No, look, it would be a stretch to say that these characters connect to birds. I could come up with some bullkussel reason for how they connect, but Kusaland ain't gonna do you like that. So, point number 1, likes to perch on high places. Check. Point number 2, emu is likely a celestial dragon and therefore is a bird. Check. Point number 3, emu has weird proportions. Check, checkity check. Point number 4, tied to butterflies, which ties to birds. Check. And point number 5, has a super tall crown. Half a check, so cheh. Alright, tangent over. You get it now. The dumb pattern is super interesting. But the question at hand was meant to be, why the rock and why the Musketedomo Goryu bird as Joy Boy's Pokemon? You know how I said that Oda is an absolute pun fiend? Even Laugh-Tail being Laugh-Tail was a huge reveal for most of us. Names that seem like total gibberish, like Zunisha's race, Naitami and Norida elephants, are just Dari no e mitaina zo. The elephants like Dali's paintings. The Musketedomo Goryu birds are just Goryu bird Musketedomo, which roughly translates to, there is a bird called Goa. There is a well-known bird found in real-world Goa called the Brahmini kite, or red-backed sea eagle. Why is this relevant? Because the Brahmini kite is widely accepted as the modern depiction of the mythical Garuda. So we have a real-world connection between the Garuda and the Musketedomo Goryu birds, who have Goa in their name. But even in One Piece's Goa Kingdom, where Luffy was born, we notice that the symbol is also a sun, or a lemon, with 3 feathers coming out of it. So, a symbol with a sun and feathers, a sunbird. Then we have the deity Garuda, who was an eagle-esque figure considered to be the king of birds, and a sunbird. It might be noteworthy that there's also the 3-legged crow in Japanese mythology called the Yatagarasu, which translates to 8-span crow, who was said to be the incarnation of the sun. Fascinating, because if Oda took inspiration from the Yatagarasu also, Torino Island's other name, Treasure Island, could make sense, because there's the old wives' tale about crows collecting shiny things. As I mentioned earlier, the Garuda is a king of the birds, so fitting too that the island of the Musketedomo Goryu birds is a kingdom, as in Torino Kingdom. I mean, did no one else find it strange that we have a location titled a kingdom, yet there was no mention of an actual king? And for those of you saying, well, the humans inhabiting the island could have had a king, sure, that's definitely a possibility, but remember, Torino Kingdom literally translates to the kingdom of birds. So who we're looking for is a king of the birds, which might I remind you was the epithet of the Garuda. As a side note, it's fascinating that there was no king of the Torino kingdom, but that was only before Chopper arrived on the island. In a way, Chopper ended up becoming a leader and a king-like figure to both the people and the birds of the island. I mentioned in my last theory video that Chopper may eventually gain a final form where he will be able to fly because his character is based on Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. If Chopper is a parallel to Joy Boy's bird Pokemon, it would be fitting that the pet of the Straw Hats ends up visiting the home of Joy Boy's pet and becomes its new king. Well then, will Joy Boy's bird Pokemon just be the king of the Musketedomo Goryu birds? I gotta say, that's pretty basic. I think that there's one extra element we're still missing. I think that the bird will be technologically enhanced. Perhaps part cyborg, tick advanced armor, or something else that allows them to use fire abilities. We've had clues of this scattered throughout the series, but it's just a matter of piecing it together. The human inhabitants of the Torino kingdom at first seemed like primitive cavemen, but turned out to have advanced firearms and advanced medical books. Remember the giant bird in Skypiea, Fusa, and his rider Shura? Well, Fusa was a Sanjocho, meaning three-length bird, who was able to breathe fire due to a flame dial being implemented in him. Although old Marcus here wasn't the warrior god of science and instead of environment, he was in fact symbolized by the planet of Mars, which is Kase in Japanese meaning fire planet. We also have the Goa kingdom with its ties to the Garuda with its residents dressed in steampunk attire. Even the Revolutionary Army is steampunk, which makes sense since both Dragon and Sabo are the former residents. Steampunk and steam-powered machinery of course is another form of technology popular in the world of One Piece, as demonstrated by the likes of Limburg and the sea trains. So fire, bird and technology, we have a connection between them. This is true for the Mother Frame / Flame, a flying piece of technology capable of raining pure destruction. It is also true for Judge the Garuda and his child Sanji, who is also of the fire element and are royals of a kingdom of science. Fitting of course, since in Greek mythology Prometheus gave humanity the gift of fire in the form of knowledge, technology and civilization. So it is highly likely then that Joy Boy's bird Pokemon was a tech-enhanced king of the Musketedomo Goryu birds. His name? Well, as I mentioned at the start of this section, Rox D. Zebek seems to hint at a connection to the rock, both in name and the vague silhouette. We don't actually have much more to go off of, but the name alone is quite telling. But I suppose that if Rox does end up being another bird Pokemon, that would make his Jolly Roger with its flame symbolism make a little more sense now, wouldn't it? So, a bird was the founder of the Rox D family, and Oda has already told us what his given name will be. These birds, the Musketedomo Goryu birds, Goryu bird Musketedomo. There is a bird called Goa. His name will be Rox D. Goa.